Good evening. Elvis Presley died today. He was 42. He was found at his home in Memphis, not breathing. His road manager tried to revive him. He failed. A hospital tried to revive him. It failed. His doctor pronounced him dead at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Elvis Presley was the king of rock and roll. His meteoric rise to fame in the mid-50s made him one of the world's first international superstars. He sold an estimated 1 billion records. But at 3 p.m. on the 16th of August, 1977, Elvis Presley is pronounced dead, having been found lying unconscious on the bathroom floor of his Memphis home, Graceland. He is just 42. The sudden and unexplained death of one of the most famous men on the planet immediately sparked speculation, and his death is still shrouded in mystery.
Elvis was not a well man, and I'm staggered at the number of possible causes of death. Most of his organs were about twice the size they should have been. He was severely constipated, and he was taking numerous prescription drugs. The challenge here is to try and understand which of these ultimately killed Elvis Presley.
World-renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Richard Shepard has been conducting high-profile autopsies for more than 25 years. He was the expert witness at the inquest into the deaths of Princess Diana, victims of the 9/11 attacks, and the Bloody Sunday inquiry.
These are the medical papers relating to Elvis's autopsy, and together with other information I've gathered, they provide numerous clues as to how Elvis lived his life, and they also unlock the reason for his untimely death.
Just a few hours after Elvis was pronounced dead, an autopsy was carried out on his body. But with the world's media waiting for an answer, the results were announced before the post-mortem had even finished.
Basically, it is a natural death, and due to the cardiac arrhythmia, which is an irregular beating of the heart.
Almost everyone dies as a result of a cardiac arrhythmia that precedes the ultimate stopping of the heart. The key question is, what causes the arrhythmia?
Nearly 40 years on, myths and legends still surround the death of Elvis Presley. But what really happened during the final hours of his life?
There is a manhunt underway in Southern California, and O.J. Simpson, the 46-year-old former football star and one of America's best-known personalities, faces the possibility of the death penalty.
June 17th, 1994. O.J. Simpson is on the run from police in one of the most famous car chases in history, wanted for murder.
The body of 34-year-old Nicole Brown Simpson, ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, was found after midnight on the sidewalk outside her West Los Angeles home. Next to it, the body of an unidentified 26-year-old man. Both had apparently been stabbed.
Despite O.J. being arrested and tried for the murders, after 8 months in what became known as the trial of the century, O.J. was acquitted. Even after extensive forensic police investigations, no one has ever been found guilty in a criminal court of these horrendous crimes.
Autopsies, by their nature, are the hard, cold, brutal facts of why and how someone died. This is the coroner's report into this incident, and it tells us that we've not got one homicide to investigate, but we have, in fact, two people who were brutally killed in exactly the same way. And now there's evidence that suggests that someone other than O.J. Simpson could be responsible for these savage murders.
Many of the autopsies he has conducted have been on the victims of murder.
As a forensic pathologist dealing with murders, I have to use all of the information at my disposal, and I call this the forensic triangle. First, we have the autopsy. Second, we have the police evidence. The third point on the forensic triangle are the crime scene photographs. In working through these three elements, we can begin to crack the puzzle of the days and hours leading up to these terrible crimes. I have here The detailed autopsy report of Nicole Brown Simpson that detail a gruesome and sustained attack. There are multiple stab wounds, including a 5-inch incised wound to the front of her throat, which gaped 2.5 inches wide and cut right down to the front of her spine. And it's these injuries that are the starting point of my forensic investigation into these killings.
6:30 a.m., 12th of June, 1994, Los Angeles, California. 35-year-old Nicole Brown Simpson is up and out on her regular 9-mile run. 2 years ago, OJ and Nicole had separated after 7 years of marriage. They had 2 children together, Sydney, who's now 8, and Justin, who's 5. Since the divorce, there have been several attempts at reconciliation, but with no success. After being married to one of the best-known celebrities in America, it's taken time for Nicole to rebuild her life. Growing up in California, a stone's throw from the beach, Nicole was the homecoming princess of Darna Hills High School. At 18, she left home, got a job as a waitress, and moved in with best friend David LeBon. But her world turned upside down in June 1977, when one of America's best-loved celebrities walked into the private dining area of the Daisy Club. For the waitress and the all-star former American footballer, the attraction was instant and intense. Despite OJ still being married at the time, from the moment they met, they became inseparable. At 46, OJ's running back days were a thing of the past, but since retiring from the game, he had carved out a very successful career as an American football commentator and movie star. An incredibly charming man, he was now worth millions, and his star was in the ascendant. To the outside world, the Simpsons may have projected a united front, but from the very first date, her close friend and roommate, David, feared that this was not a normal relationship.
We have just received word that the Academy Award-winning actor and comedian Robin Williams has died.
Tonight, celebrities are sharing their condolences.
The world has lost one of his biggest stars.
Where did they get Sarah Palin? Where did they find her?
Robin Williams was one of the funniest and most gifted comedians of his generation.
It's like she came from some sort of reality show, Project Running Mate. Here she comes. Here comes Sarah. Her hobbies are breastfeeding and helicopter hunting.
His manic energy, lightning wit, and wildly inventive improvisation made him world famous.
Mr. Williams was last seen alive by his wife at approximately 10:30 p.m.
But on August the 11th, 2014, Robin Williams was found dead in a bedroom of his home in Tiburon, California.
That was an apparent suicide due to a hanging.
Early news reports jumped to one conclusion.
His publicist says as of late, Williams had been battling severe depression.
Battle with depression.
Battling severe depression.
But of people suffering from depression, only a small minority, less than 1 in 10, take their own lives.
Throughout my career, I've sat through many inquests and heard many tales from families about depression and the causes of suicide. And it's my experience that depression is seldom the only feature that is the trigger for the suicide.
And we need to investigate this further to come to a complete understanding of what happened that night. This is the extensive coroner's report into the death of Robin Williams. And within these 30 pages, if you know how to read them, is a full account of his last days and hours. The report says that he committed suicide, which is, of course, quite correct. But the big question is, what was going on in his body at that time that drove him to take his own life?
July 2014. 6 weeks before his death, Robin Williams checks into the Hazelden Addiction Treatment Center on the outskirts of Minneapolis, Minnesota. According to his publicist, he wants to fine-tune and focus on his continued commitment to sobriety. It's his latest effort to stay clean, following a long-running battle with drugs and alcohol. At 62, his career as a leading Hollywood man has faltered.
Robin Williams was at a crossroads in his career. He was once the king of film, the king of television, the king of stand-up comedy. And now he was none of those. He had huge bills to pay. There was talk of about 30 million in alimony to 2 ex-wives, and he found himself struggling to really see where his future lay.
Los Angeles, 1978. Robin Williams burst to prominence aged 27, playing Mork in the hit TV sitcom Mork and Mindy. 60 million Americans watched the show every week, making Robin Williams famous almost overnight. Robin Williams' movie career began in 1980. His performance in the 1987 movie Good Morning Vietnam won him a Golden Globe Award. By 1997, he was at the top of his profession. After a series of critically acclaimed box office hits, he won his only Oscar for Good Will Hunting. The autopsy report reveals other more serious health issues dating back years.
The coroner's report tells us he was suffering from significant heart problems. A normal adult male heart weighs about 330 grams, whereas the autopsy report tells me that Robin Williams' heart weighs 530 grams. Which means the muscle of the heart is enlarged, and the reason the muscle is enlarged is having to work harder to overcome some underlying disease.
Five years before his death, 57-year-old Robin Williams was on the road with a new stand-up show and under pressure to make it a commercial success.
Robin Williams hadn't been on tour for 6 years. So this was vital for him, vital in 3 areas. One, for business, to show that he still was an A-list star and could win audiences over with his humor. Secondly, for his own confidence, the ability to deliver gags and get people rolling around. And thirdly, for image, to show the world this man can still do it at the highest levels. It went down like a storm.
But with 26 shows in 2 months, it was a punishing schedule. By the time he reached Florida, he started to experience breathlessness and palpitations.
He must have felt awful. He must have been an extremely unwell man, wondering what was happening to him. The autopsy report shows there's a 9-inch vertical scar in the center of his chest. And there was evidence of the replacement of his aortic valve.
The aortic valve helps to regulate blood flow inside the heart and pump oxygenated blood around the body. If the valve is damaged, it may not close properly, and blood pumped out of the heart can flow back through the valve in the wrong direction. This can lead to a number of symptoms: fainting, abnormal heart rhythm, and heart attacks.
And if the disease is severe, the only way to treat it is to replace the valve.
In March 2009, Robin Williams had cardiac surgery to remove his aortic valve and insert an artificial replacement. The procedure was successful. After 6 months' recovery, he was back on tour.
So his heart was still enlarged, but it seems to have been working reasonably well, and the distressing symptoms would have gone. So the surgery would have given him a whole new lease of life. So there's a huge paradox. He got over a major heart disease. He'd been cured of those symptoms. So why would he kill himself?
Fairfax, California. Less than 2 days before his death, he attends the opening of a new exhibition at an art gallery with his third wife, artist Susan Williams. But within 42 hours, Robin Williams would be dead.
Actress Marilyn Monroe died. Bottle of sleeping pills near her bed.
In the golden age of Hollywood, Marilyn Monroe eclipsed all others. Through a series of hit films in the 1950s, her looks made her one of the most photographed women on the planet.
I just love finding new places to wear diamonds.
But at 3:40 a.m. on the 5th of August, 1962, Marilyn was found dead in the bedroom of her Los Angeles home.
Miss Monroe's remains were first removed to a mortuary, then to the county morgue for autopsy.
After 12 days, the coroner faced the world's press, but his findings were inconclusive.
On the basis of all the information obtained, it is our opinion that the case is a probable suicide.
The word probable opened the door to a host of conspiracy theories, including claims that she was murdered. Now, leading forensic pathologist Dr. Richard Shepard is using Marilyn's autopsy report and recently discovered private medical records to get to the truth behind her mysterious death.
With the new medical evidence I've collated, I think I can end the rumor and speculation that surrounded Marilyn's death for over 50 years.
Dr. Shepard now has access to her private medical records to make his a unique new investigation. August the 4th, 1962, Brentwood, Los Angeles. Marilyn's at home during downtime on her new movie, Something's Got to Give. After a string of broken relationships with powerful men, including the president, John F. Kennedy, her life is now at a crossroads. At 36, she longs to be taken seriously as an actress, but Hollywood is not interested, casting her again in a familiar role, the dumb blonde. 9 a.m. Larry Schiller, a photographer from her new movie, arrives.
The last time I saw her, which was the morning of the day she died, she was in a serious mood, not a playful mood. She didn't want to mince around with any words.
Marilyn had allowed Schiller to photograph her on set in a series of revealing poses.
Marilyn said, "What would happen if I jumped into the swimming pool with the bathing suit on, but I came out with nothing on?" I said, "But Marilyn, you're already famous. Now you're going to make me famous." Her body was in fantastic shape. And of course, you name it, we had the cover of every magazine in the world in the month of June, 1962.
Now, 2 months later, Schiller wants to know if Marilyn will agree to some of the pictures being published in Playboy.
She actually turned on me a little bit saying, "Am all I good for is my body? Is that what it's all about, just my body?"
The autopsy report shows that Marilyn had kept herself in great physical shape.
This is the unembalmed body of a 36-year-old, well-developed, well-nourished Caucasian female. It says the scalp is covered with bleach blonde hair and the eyes are blue. And of course that confirms the iconic Marilyn image, the blonde bombshell.
Marilyn Monroe was born Norma Jean Mortensen in 1926.
The person Norma Jean was kind, gentle, sweet, very, very smart, and rather shy. And she created Marilyn Monroe as a different persona that was extremely sexual.
After a short career as a model, in 1946, a 20-year-old Norma Jean broke into Hollywood. After signing a 6-month contract with 20th Century Fox, she started creating a new persona and changed her name to Marilyn Monroe. At the age of 23, she posed for her first nude photograph. Marilyn soon worked her way up the billing with a series of hit films including Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
I just love finding new places to wear diamonds.
But with fame came the realization that her success was almost entirely dependent on her looks and the character she had created. Even the most routine operation was not allowed to jeopardize her perfect image.
We know that she'd had her appendix removed, but there's no scar in the typical appendix area. But there is a scar lower down in the pubic area. And it seems to me that the surgeon has taken an unusual approach to preserve her good looks and made the incision below the bikini line.
This wasn't the only time Marilyn had the help of surgery to improve her look. A note from her visit to Hollywood plastic surgeon Dr. Michael Gurdon reveals she had cosmetic surgery at the age of 24.
Only recently has the medical information become available that Marilyn actually had a chin implant to change the shape of her chin, presumably to make her look more beautiful as part of the development of this Hollywood image.
And just months before her death, Marilyn visited Dr. Gurdon again after a fall at home leaves her worried she has broken her nose.
He examined her and he found there was a small cut, there was some bruising, but x-rays showed no evidence of a fracture.
However, they did reveal that the cartilage implant in her chin was dissolving and she would need to go under the knife again. But by June 1962, it wasn't just her looks that were in danger of crumbling. Marilyn's personal life was coming apart at the seams.
Based on the medical documentation, I can see that Marilyn has had some plastic surgery. But to all intents and purposes, she was a physically fit and healthy young woman. And I can see no immediate cause for her death. But the autopsy report does show some changes in her stomach, which are described as marked congestion with submucosal petechial hemorrhaging. And this means the lining of the stomach is reddened and angry looking. And that's entirely consistent with someone taking a drug a short time before their death. But when the pathologist looks in the stomach, there's no drug left present for him to identify at that time.
Evidence suggests Marilyn had taken drugs shortly before her death. But what those drugs were and how they came to be in her stomach is the key to the mystery.